Howdy. My name is Frances Jackson. Pronouns they, them. I'm the coordinator of the LGBTQ Pride Center in the offices of the Dean of Student Life here at Texas A&M University. Welcome to the Transgender Day of Remembrance Vigil. I'd like to start off by thanking our partners in this event: Pride Community Center, the LGBTQ Professional Network, Aggie Pride LGBTQ Network, Transcend, Friends Congregational Church, and Aggie Allies. Today we are gathered to remember the transgender men, women, and gender nonconforming folks who were viciously taken from us too soon this year. Transgender Day of Remembrance was founded in 1999 by Gwendolyn Ann Smith, a transgender woman, to memorialize the murder of Rita Hester, a transgender African-American woman who was murdered in Massachusetts in November of 1998. In 2019, some 331 trans and gender diverse people were killed. Most were folks of color. We hope this evening will serve to educate folks on the issue of violence faced by this community and inspire everyone to act in their own lives to make spaces free of violence and discrimination for trans and gender diverse folks. Our next speaker is Jennifer Bradford from Aggie Allies.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Bradford and I'm the president of Aggie Allies. 33. According to the HRC, that is the number of transgender or gender non-conforming people who have died from violent attacks in 2020 alone. The majority of these victims were Black and Latinx transgender women, but more importantly, they're humans. They are sons, daughters, brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, and they're loved. While we have seen some national victories for the transgender community this past year, primarily when the U.S. Supreme Court granted protections to the LGBTQ workers through the Civil Rights Act of 1964, many rights continue to be revoked, and we still have a long way to go. Allies are important, especially when we recognize our own privileges and use the spaces we occupy to raise the voices of marginalized groups. We can help the people we love and care about to live in a safer, more equitable environment by speaking out against biases, prejudices, and injustice. By being an ally, we can advocate and be a catalyst for social change in the face of adversity. We can create safe spaces where there is freedom from fear and from violence. If we all work together, we can create enough safe spaces so no one will live in fear of violence for expressing themselves as they choose. As allies, it is important to honor the lives of those individuals brave enough to be their authentic selves. We must continue to elevate voices in order to create safe spaces so that future generations can be heard. Next, we'll be hearing from Katie Higgins from the Aggie Pride LGBTQ Network.
My name is Katie Higgins. My pronouns are they, them, and I am the Director of Programming for Aggie Pride LGBTQ Network. Every November for the past 21 years, our community comes together on Transgender Day of Remembrance to remember the trans and gender nonconforming souls who have been taken from us. Every year, the names on that list are a stark reminder that transgender people exist in a world that all too often tries to erase them. Though this erasure often takes the form of brutal attacks, murders, and hate crimes, this is not the only violence that transgender people face. Racism, classism, ableism are woven into the everyday aggressions of misgendering, deadnaming, disrespect, and harassment. They add up, and it is in this minutia that change must begin if we hope to one day eradicate the scourge of transphobia from our world. Tonight, we will speak the names of our transgender siblings. We will feel the weight of their absence and hold space for them. But when the last name is read, let us resolve these things. To be silent no more. To lift up the most marginalized among us, particularly trans women of color. To no longer choose complicity in this violence for the sake of ease. to unequivocally tell our trans friends and family, we love you and you matter. May we consciously and deliberately choose every day to create a world where transgender people are valued, celebrated, loved, and seen as they truly are. Speaking next is Alessandra Ribota and Tx.ag Gonzalez of the LGBTQ Professional Network. Thank you.
Buenas tardes. My name is Alessandra Ribota, she, her, ella, and I am the president of the LGBTQ Professional Network.
And I am David Yago Gonzalez, he, him, of the LGBTQ PM.
Today, we remember those who are too soon gone and that the violent ways in which they were taken away. We remember the ulcer that transphobia means in our society. We do so in order to become aware and acknowledge that the ones who are gone are far more than just numbers and statistics, but individuals who have been ripped from us and their future just for being courageous enough to be who they are.
Transphobic violence exists in our society, and it is up to us to recognize the fact that this violence takes the lives of many members of the transgender community across the world. May we not reach the 100+ trans and gender nonconforming individuals who died only last year worldwide at the hands of this social illness that has spread globally. Today, in this act of remembrance, we need to stand strong with everyone, coming together and building unity so that no one's name is called again. Through advocacy and representation, through resistance and solidarity, our community needs to create strong links and support from everyone under the LGBTQ+ umbrella.
As members of this community, we need to stand united on denouncing and condemning those violent acts so that we give voice to those who do not have it anymore. And in the words of Maya Angelou, I come as one, but stand as 10,000. Up next, Reverend Dr. Dan De Leon from Friends Congregational Church.
Hi, I'm Dan De Leon, Senior Pastor of Friends Congregational Church, United Church of Christ. There's a story Christians read on Transfiguration Sunday, which happens a week before the first Sunday in Lent, a season that's all about repentance and changing ourselves from the inside out to become more like God hopes for us to be in this world. Jesus goes to the top of a mountain, and 3 of his disciples follow him. And when they get to the top, Jesus is transfigured in front of their eyes. His clothes become a dazzling white, and he shines with radiant glory. A cloud overshadows them, and the voice of God speaks from it, saying, "This is my beloved, whom I dearly love. Listen to him." This is a powerful story because it's revered as the moment when Jesus shows his true self as God's beloved to his followers. And the way that he reveals his authentic self, the way that he shows the truth of his identity, is through transfiguration, through being transformed. In many ways, I read this story as a powerful commentary on the beautifully authentic, uncompromisingly truthful lives of non-binary people. Because the truthful way that my trans neighbors live out their personhood reveals that they are God's beloved children and that all of us should listen to them. Sadly, the church has often failed to do that because the trans experience doesn't fit in to the traditional binaries of man or woman, dark or light, and so forth. Religion has shunned what it doesn't easily understand. And the consequence of preaching and teaching against what it doesn't understand and therefore can't appreciate is a toxic theology that makes it hell on earth for the trans community. As the Reverend Dr. Steve Sprinkle writes in his book, Unfinished Lives, Reviving the Memories of LGBTQ Hate Crimes, 9 times out of 10, the justification given by those who kill LGBTQ people is rooted in religion. So the main thing I want to share with you is this. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that this Transgender Day of Remembrance had to be created in the first place. And as an ordained minister of the gospel of Jesus Christ, I'm sorry for the complicit role that the church has played in this violence. But I also want to leave you with words of hope and affirmation. See, the hope that my faith gives me is that it can break cycles of violence. That, to me, is one of the most important things about following the transfigured Christ, because his message to everyone, from the most blatantly transphobic to those who are quietly complicit to the rhetoric of transphobia, is this: repent. And repent doesn't mean believe in Jesus or else. Repent means stop doing what you're doing and turn around. Change directions, change your mind, change your life. And when we set aside fear of what we don't understand, and embrace the call to change, the killing stops and lives are literally saved. And the affirmation that I want to leave with you is of the trans experience itself that has the God-given ability to make the church shine like it's supposed to. If you read the first chapter of the book of Genesis, you'll find a poetic story that's made up of a series of binaries that explain the depth of God's creation. But those are indications of a spectrum, not a binary. When God separates light from darkness and creates night and day, it's not either or. It's a beautiful spectrum celebrating everything within those broad parameters, dark as night and light as day, and everything in between are essential components of creation, all of which God looks upon and calls good. So, to my beautiful trans neighbors, I want to tell you, don't lose hope and never lose sight of who you truly are, because your authentic self, lived unabashedly from the inside out, is so very good. And it has the power to break cycles of violence and to set people free from the boring binaries of either or that keep us all in chains. Thank you, and peace be with you. And now I'd like to introduce our next speaker, Katrina Stewart of Pride Community Center.
Thank you, Dan, for that wonderful introduction and for your wisdom. Hello, howdy. I'm Katrina Stewart, Executive Director of Pride Community Center. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. To speak the name of the dead is to make them live again. Ancient Egyptian belief. As we speak these names, we draw down our family we have lost back through the tree of life to us in this moment to stand witness in our vigil. We speak these names and their memory lives again within us. We speak these names and their strength of life and resilience emboldens us. Today we speak the names of those we have lost this past year due to violence. Too often that violence is hate violence or rage motivated by who we are. Too often that violence is found at the juxtaposition of multiple marginalized identities such as race, gender identity, and possibly in some cases even disability or HIV status. I was asked once, why do we hold vigil for the dead? Shouldn't we be honoring the living? Here's my condensed answer. We honor the living by holding vigil for the dead. In these months, as darkness grows longer, the harvest has passed, and we settle to nest in our homes with our loved ones. The example, the resilience of those before us strengthens and emboldens us. It reminds us of work undone and the work to be done. The deaths associated with the names we are about to read are sometimes horrific. They are triggering. The witness to the violence we live in is scary and something that we are often not prepared for. So we come together to support one another, to stand with one another, and to then process afterwards, to learn, to heal, and to honor that part of ourselves touched by such things. These are all things important to the moving forward of those of us still living. Thank you for standing vigil with us today. Welcome to the energies of those who have joined us from wherever beyond this living realm as we read your names and witness your life. Afterwards, please remember there will be a discussion Zoom session hosted by the LGBTQ Professional Network to discuss, debrief, and work through this together. I would like to welcome our next speaker, Jessie Miller.
Hello, my name is Jessie Miller. I use he, they pronouns, and I am the president of the student organization Transcend. I will be reading a few names as part of the vigil tonight. October 4th, 2019. Manina, age unknown. Curitiba, Paraná, Brazil. She was murdered. October 4th, 2019. Name unknown. Age unknown. Puerto Vallarta, Jalisco, Mexico. Stabbed. October 5th, 2019. L.S. Felix. Age 24. Patos, Paraíba, Brazil. Stabbed. October 6th, 2019. Corbin Ray Bach. Age 23. Paducah, Kentucky, USA. Suicide. October 6th, 2019. Paola Araujo. Age 31. Teresino, Paia, Brazil. Shot. October 6, 2019. Rone Gonzalez, age 47, Jardim América, Goiânia, Brazil, stabbed. October 7th, 2019. Marcelino Soler Fernandez, Soledad Fernandez, age 42, Zanja Patera, Amambe, Paraguay, shot. October 9th, 2019. Michelle Amelida Caetano de Silva, age 31, Anoa dos Palmares, Alagos, Brazil, murdered. October 10th, 2019. Christine Zephier, age 23, Mankato, Minnesota, USA, not reported. October 10th, 2019. La Diva, age 30, Guaduas, Cundinamarca, Colombia, shot. October 11th, 2019. Daphne Dorman, age 44, San Francisco, California, USA, suicide. October 11th, 2019. Vidalia Molino Delgado, Mazantenango, Seguidepreques, Guatemala, shot. October 12th, 2019. Julia Holanda Ferreira, age 24, Sobral, Sierra, Brazil, shot. October 13th, 2019. F.R. Barbosa Magalhães, age unknown, Curitiba, Paraná, Brazil, beaten. October 13th, 2019. Devora Coranza Hernandez, age 40, San Pedro Sula, Cortez, Honduras, stabbed. October 14th, 2019. Brianna B.B. Hill, age 30, Kansas City, Missouri, USA, shot. October 15th, 2019. Lorena Vicente, age 23, Sao Paulo, Brazil, beaten. October 15th, 2019. Michelle Pfeiffer, Sao Paulo, Brazil, murdered. October 17th, 2019. Antonella Espinoza Mendoza, age 19, Guayaquil, Guayas, Ecuador, cosmetic filler poisoning. October 19th, 2019. Lina Marcela Jimenez Granados, age 26, Bucaramanga, Santander, Colombia, stabbed. October 20th, 2019. Koinoa Ares, nickname Caco, age 23, Avare, Sao Paulo, Brazil, suicide. October 25th, 2019. Idias de Salvia, age 40, Petrolina, Pernambuco, Brazil, shot. October 26, 2019. Anahi Marande Rivas, age 27, San Salvador, El Salvador, strangled. October 26, 2019. Lachico Charinos, age 49, La Plata, Buenos Aires, Argentina, stabbed. October 26, 2019. Name unknown, age 47, Ciudad Juarez, Chihuahua, Mexico, shot. October 30th, 2019. Bruna, age 30, Salvador Bahia, Brazil, shot. October 30th, 2019. Edu, age 18, Liria, Valencia, Spain, suicide. November 1st, 2019. Bruna Suarez, age 23, São Mateus, Espírito Santo, Brazil, stabbed. November 2nd, 2019. Paula Santos, age 26, Joque, Bahia, Brazil, stabbed. Or murdered. November 3rd, 2019. Name unknown, Jacona Machacoan, Mexico, murdered. November 4th, 2019. Name unknown, Chihuahua, Mexico, shot. November 4th, 2019. Age 43, name unknown, Juiz de Fora, Minas Gerais, Brazil, not reported. November 6, 2019. Jade Camila Diaz, age unknown, Rio Torola, Mangueira, El Salvador, tortured. November 9th, 2019. Brigitte Meron, age 15, La Gomera, Escuintla, Guatemala, shot. November 10th, 2019. Pedrita Alves de Salva, age 47, Ribeirão Preto, Sao Paulo, Brazil, not reported. November 11th, 2019. Daphne Quene, age 15, Jordão Recife, Pernambuco, Brazil, stoned. November 12th, 2019. Michelle, age unknown, Zueteneo Guerrero, Mexico, shot. November 13th, 2019. Gisela Corvalan, nickname Yiyila, age 47, Santiago del Estero, Argentina, stabbed. November 15th, 2019. Monica Rivera, nickname Monica de la Torre, age unknown, Martinez de la Torre, Veracruz, Mexico, murdered. November 16th, 2019. Jerica Rivas Ruiz, age 28, Los Mertillas, Bogota, Distrito Capital, Colombia, murdered. November 17th, 2019. Hubert Guedulo Melendez, nickname La Papis, age 41, Restrepo Valdecoca, Colombia, stabbed. November 18th, 2019. Pedrita dos Santos Silva, age 20, San Miguel dos Campos, Alagoas, Brazil, shot. November 18th, 2019. Sarita Sudario de Silva, age 40, Manaus, Amazonas, Brazil, stabbed. November 21st, 2019. Coral, Iztapalpa, Ciudad de Mexico, Estado de Mexico. Mexico, tortured and shot. Thank you. The names will continue with Myra Lesh, the Vice President of Transcend.
I'm Myra Lush, she, her, the Vice President of Transcend. November 22nd, 2019, Rafaela de Salles, 26, Linhares, Espírito Santo, Brazil, run over. November 23rd, 2019, Isabelle Prado, 23, Tramandaí, Rio Grande do Sul, Brazil, murdered. November 29th, 2019, Mufa Alava, 30, Quito, Ecuador, stabbed. November 30th, 2019, Rosa Granados, 28, Loma Larga, La Unión, El Salvador, shot. December 2nd, 2019, Catalina Rodriguez, 22, Bogotá, Distrito Capital, Colombia, poisoned. December 2nd, 2019, name unknown, Selena Cruz Oaxaca, Mexico, shot. December 3rd, 2019, Emilia Lundberg, 20, Tollarp, Kristianstad, Sweden, murdered. December 6th, 2019, Marisol Chacon Vilcacuri, 37, Verona, Veneto, Italy, run over. December 6th, 2019, Nicole Pinto, 33, Toledo, Paraná, Brazil, shot. December 7th, 2019, Nikki Kuhnhausen, 17, Larch Mountain, Oregon, United States of America, murdered. December 8th, 2019, Myla Carvalho, Porto Piauí, Brazil, suicide. December 10th, 2019, Angel Rose Garcia, 21, Hyattsville, Maryland, United States of America, cause of death not reported. December 10th, 2019, Marcel Brandina, 23, Veracruz, Sao Paulo, Brazil, asphyxiated. December 12th, 2019, Veronica Oliveira, 40, Santa Maria, Rio Grande do Sul, Brazil, stabbed. December 13th, 2019, Nicole Muniz Ferreira Souza, 24, Marilla, Sao Paulo, Brazil, poisoned. December 13th, 2019, name unknown, Salvador Bahia, Brazil, murdered. December 13th, name unknown, Salvador Bahia, Brazil, murdered. December 14th, 2019, Lorana Martins dos Santos, Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, murdered. December 18th, 2019, Alice Carter, 35, Washington, D.C., United States of America, cause of death not reported. December 18th, 2019, name unknown, Villa de Alvarez, Colima, Mexico, tortured. December 19th, 2019, Christy Conde Vasquez, 28, El Salvador, shot. 19th December 2019, Yahira Nesby, 33, Brooklyn, New York, United States of America, shot. December 20th, 2019, Kendall, 19, Bogotá, Distrito Capital, Colombia, stabbed. December 21st, 2019, name unknown, 49, Montreal, Quebec, Canada, murdered. December 22nd, 2019, Andrea Naheli Alonso Ramirez, 46, Iztapalapa, Ciudad de Mexico, Estado de Mexico, Mexico, murdered. December 22nd, 2019, Julie Berman, 51, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, murdered. December 24th, 2019, Luciana Robledo, 32, Buenos Aires, Argentina, murdered. December 29th, 2019, Mia Penny, 26, Washington, D.C., United States of America, shot. December 31st, 2019, Eli Pimentel, 24, Itaituba Hara, Brazil, shot. December 31st, 2019, Gui Pereira, Sao Paulo, Brazil, suicide. December 31st, 2019, Lucas Jorge, 22, João Pessoa, Paraíba, Brazil, suicide. January 1st, 2020, Dustin Parker, 25, McAllister, Oklahoma, United States of America, shot. January 1st, 2020, Jennifer Avila Sumpala, 35, Mazatenango, Suchitepeques, Guatemala, tortured and stoned. January 1st, 2020, Selena Pejoto, 37, Del Armando de Aguiar, Rio Grande do Sul, Brazil, shot. January 2nd, 2020, Sapna, Moradabad, Uttar Pradesh, India, stabbed. January 4th, 2020, Alex McRae, 22, St. Louis, Missouri, United States of America, suicide. January 4th, Murilo Goncalves, age unknown, Pau dos Ferros, Rio Grande do Norte, Brazil, suicide. January 4th, 2020, Palak Tiwari, 26, Indore, Madhya Pradesh, India, suicide. January 5th, 2020, Andresa Henrique, 28, Curitiba, Paraná, Brazil, not cause of death not reported. January 5th, 2020, Nare Mfela, 28, Parkmore, Segak Gapeng, Limpopo, South Africa, stabbed. January 6th, 2020, Paola Prado, Fortaleza, Ceará, Brazil, shot. January 6th, 2020, Vitoria Santos Silva, 19, Brazil, shot. January 7th, 2020, Brenda Landazuri, 24, Los Martires, Bogota, Colombia, stabbed. January 8th, 2020, Lucas, 21, Alcalá de Guaidera, Sevilla, Spain, suicide. Reading names next will be Mark Gann, he, him, Treasurer of Transcend.
Howdy, my name is Mark Gann and my pronouns are he, him. I am the treasurer for Transcend and tonight I will be reading some names. January 8th, 2020, Mari de Bastos Lima, 37, Santo Antonio de la Vega, Mato Grosso, Brazil, murdered. January 9th, 2020, Hans Acevedo, 46, Zona 6, Guatemala City, Guatemala, shot. January 9th, 2020, Giselle Catrin, Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, shot. January 11th, 2020, Husada Pires de Silva, 55, Curitiba, Paraná, Brazil, shot. January 11th, 2020, name unknown, Raul, Sao Paulo, Brazil, shot. January 12th, 2020, Paulina Espindola Lopez, 24, Deodapolis, Mato Grosso do Sul, Brazil, stabbed. January 14th, 2020, Eduardo Panero, 41, Alto Pasio, Lucca, Italy, suicide. January 14th, 2020, Kimberly McRae, 69, Sydney, New South Wales, Australia, strangled. January 15th, 2020, Bruna Rosa, Ipora Goiás, Brazil, suicide. January 15th, 2020, Angie Aguilera, 25, Tarimbaro, Michoacan, Mexico, shot. January 16th, 2020, Brigitte Michelle Alas Miranda, 21. San Salvador, El Salvador. Shot. January 16th, 2020. Name unknown. Frosinone Lazio, Italy. Not reported. January 17th, 2020. Ajita Bujel, 29. Hetauda Makawanpur, Nepal. Strangled. January 17th, 2020. Ana Clara Lima, age 38. Brasilia, Distrito Federal, Brazil. Stabbed. January 17th, 2020. Fabiola, Salvador Bahia, Brazil. Shot. January 18th, 2020. Hilary Medina, 22. Naiva Huila, Colombia. Shot. January 19th, 2020. Leticia Pereira de Oliveira, 17. Boa Vista Roraima, Brazil. Strangled and stabbed. January 19th, 2020. Morgana Claudia Ribeiro Paraná, 37. Santa Maria, Rio Grande do Sul, Brazil. Beaten. January 20th, 2020. Maya Haddad, 27. Tel Aviv, Israel. Suicide. January 21st, 2020. Shakira Perez Mendez, 27. Chilpancingo, Guerrero, Mexico. Shot. January 22nd, 2020. Name unknown. Between the ages of 20 and 25. Robledo Medellin, Antioquia, Colombia. Stabbed. January 24th, 2020. F. Uguim Soares, 37. Campo Bom, Rio Grande do Sul, Brazil. Strangled. January 26th, 2020. Bruna Lais, 23. Natal, Rio Grande do Norte, Brazil. Shot. January 28th, 2020. Name unknown. Garcia Nuevo Leon, Mexico. Murdered. January 30th, 2020. Wedela Brunner Dorak, 25. Rolim de Moura, Roraima, Brazil. Stabbed. January 30th, 2020. Liliani Rosenvert, 26. San Francisco de Macorís, Duarte, Dominican Republic. Medical complications. February 1st, 2020. Adriana Santana, Restinga, Sao Paulo, Brazil. Suicide. February 1st, 2020. Roberta Carabajal, 45 to 50. La Plata, Buenos Aires, Argentina. Stabbed. February 2nd, 2020. Nicole. San Cristobal de las Casas, Chiapas, Mexico. Beaten. February 4th, 2020. Isabel Cost, 27. Florianopolis, Santa Catarina, Brazil. Stabbed. February 5th, 2020. Maisa Andrade, 34. Joao Pessoa, Paraíba, Brazil. Cosmetic filler poisoning. February 6th, 2020. Samantha Dovale, 20. Florianopolis, Santa Catarina, Brazil. Strangled. February 7th, 2020. Guadalupe, 35. La Paz, Estado de Mexico, Mexico. Strangled. February 8th, 2020. Dorete Lopez Leal, 32. Agricolandia, Piauí, Brazil. Beaten and stabbed. February 8th, 2020. Joyce Berlim, 28. Limo Eiro, Pernambuco, Brazil. Shot. February 9th, 2020. Angie Membela del Aguila, 26. Via El Salvador, Lima, Peru. Stabbed. February 9th, 2020, Karev, 20, Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, suicide. February 10th, 2020, Sabrina Sampaio, 22, Consoleiro Lafayette, Minas Gerais, Brazil, stabbed. February 10th, 2020, Tabata Oliveira, 31, Belo Horizonte, Minas Gerais, Brazil, stabbed. February 11th, 2020, Valera, age 46, Chelyabinsk, Russia, raped and beaten. February 11th, 2020, Nenim Santos de Silva, 38, Campinas, Sao Paulo, Brazil, shot. February 12th, 2020, Carolina Ariel Silva, 22, Parque do Carmo, Sao Paulo, Brazil, stabbed. February 13th, 2020, Mamta, Sardarnagar, Ahmedabad, India, stabbed. February 13th, 2020, name unknown, Natal, Rio Grande do Norte, Brazil, electrocuted. Reading next is Matt Lightfoot.
Hi, my name is Matt Lightfoot, and I'm a member of Transcend, and I'm part of Leadership for Treehouse, and my pronouns are he, him. 14th February 2020, Monica Chagas, Missal Velha, Ceará, Brazil, tortured. 14th February 2020, Rebecca Ann Becca, Lognidry, East Lothian, Scotland, United Kingdom, suicide. 15th February 2020, Bruna Carla Souza, Quilombo, Santa Catarina, Brazil, beaten and strangled. 15th February 2020, name unknown, Rome, Lazio, Italy, not reported. 17th February 2020, Richely Silva, 25, Cearia Marim, Rio Grande do Norte, Brazil, murdered. 18th February 2020, Samantha, 26, Uruapan, Michoacan, Mexico, shot. 20th February 2020, Cachito Soto Rufino, 21, Villa Vasquez, Monte Cristi, Dominican Republic, suicide. 20th February 2020, Gabriele Vandergoel, Itaperuna, Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, shot. 20th February 2020, Gabby, 21, Anápolis, Goiás, Brazil, not reported. 21st February 2020, Camila Maria Concepcion, 28, Los Angeles, California, United States, suicide. 21st February 2020, Jessica Sarmiento, 38, Bois de Boulogne, Paris, France, run over. 22nd February 2020, Bruna Andrade, 30, Florianopolis, Santa Catarina, Brazil, stabbed. 23rd February 2020, Maria Eduarda Iris Diaz, 32, Encruzilhada do Sul, Rio Grande do Sul, Brazil, murdered. 23rd February 2020, name unknown, 31, Araguari, Minas Gerais, Brazil, shot. 23rd February 2020, Davila Duarte, Fortaleza, Ceará, Brazil, shot. 24th February 2020, Alexa Ruiz, 28, Toa Baja, Puerto Rico, shot. 25th February 2020, Carla H., 32, Zamora, Michoacan, Mexico, shot. 26th February 2020, Almamani Huamani, 44, Arequipa, Peru, murdered. 28th February 2020, Alexia Freires, Pandora. 29, Betim Minas Gerais, Brazil, stabbed. 2nd March 2020, Luisa Sandoval Lemus, Huicha, 24, Puerto Barrios, Izabal, Guatemala, tortured and mutilated. 5th March 2020, Carly Sasha Chinania, Palomino, 33, Ciudadela, Buenos Aires, Argentina, shot. 5th March 2020, Patsy Andrea Delgado, Chihuahua, Mexico, beaten. 5th March 2020, Yampi Mendez Arocho, 19, Moco, Puerto Rico, shot. 6th March 2020, S. Coronel Guerrero, 32, Emiliano Zapata Morelos, Mexico, shot. 7th March 2020, Tita Andrade Umania, 33, La Leona, Intupuca, La Union, El Salvador, burned. 9th March 2020, Ada Hansi, Mersin Ili, Turkey, not reported. 10th March 2020, Talita, 28, Belo Horizonte, Minas Gerais, Brazil, stabbed. 12th March 2020, Isadora, 51, Belo Horizonte, Minas Gerais, Brazil, shot. 12th March 2020, John Scott DeVore, Scotland Kelly DeVore, 51, Augusta, Georgia, United States, murdered. 12th March 2020, Ludmila Nascimento dos Santos, Alagoas, Bahia, Brazil, shot. 15th March 2020, Rebecca Araujo, 31, Embu-Guaçu, Sao Paulo, Brazil, beaten. 15th March 2020, Stephanie Cardona Matias, 32, Mixco, Guatemala, stabbed. 16th March 2020, name unknown, between 30 and 35 years old, Chihuahua, Mexico, beaten. 18th March 2020, Monica Diamond, 34, Charlotte, North Carolina, United States, shot. 19th March 2020, Rafina Pimenta, 25, Boca de Pedra, Arapiraca, Alagoas, Brazil, tortured and burned. 20th March 2020, Paloma Pereira do Nascimento, 22, Carol, Pernambuco, Brazil, shot. 22nd March 2020, Kelly, 35, Carol, Pernambuco, Brazil, shot. 23rd March 2020, Carla Camarena del Castillo, Valentina Ferretti, San Felipe, Guanajuato, Mexico, shot. 24th March 2020, Naomi Nicole Garcia, La Soñare, 25, Ciudad de Mexico, Mexico, shot. 24th March 2020, Viviane Maximian, Mirasol, Sao Paulo, Brazil, suicide. 28th March 2020, E. Grosu, 23, Nazili Aydin, Turkey, suicide. 28th March 2020, Lexi Ebony Sutton, 33, Harlem, New York, United States, stabbed. 29th March 2020, name unknown, between 20 and 40 years old, El Zapote, Guerrero, Mexico, stoned. 29th March 2020, Luana Patti, 39, Fortaleza, Ceará, Brazil, shot. 30th March 2020, Lorena Borges, 59, Queens, New York, United States, COVID-19. 30th March 2020, Reisa Ferreira, Vitoria, Espírito Santo, Brazil. Suicide. 31st March 2020. Fabiola Pereira Andrade, 48, Hikie, Bahia, Brazil. Beaten. 31st March 2020. Jennifer Diaz de Alcantara, 34, Dourados, Mato Grosso do Sul, Brazil. Stabbed. 1st April 2020. Ashley Moore, 26, Newark, New Jersey, United States. Not reported. 3rd April 2020. Henrietta Robinson, 79, Miami, Florida, United States. COVID-19. 4th April 2020. Musa, 15, Faisalabad, Punjab, Pakistan. Gang raped. 4th April 2020. Reika França, 26, Querencia, Mato Grosso, Brazil. Stoned. 5th April 2020. Mira, 42, Sailing Sink, Jakarta Utara, Indonesia. Burnt alive. 5th April 2020. Name unknown, Natal, Rio Grande do Norte, Brazil. Not reported. 6th April 2020. J.F. do Nascimento Martins, 27, Bahia, Paraíba, Brazil. Shot. 7th April 2020. Marcela Bitoni, Sao Paulo, Brazil. COVID-19. 8th April 2020. Leticia Perez, Fortaleza, Ceará, Brazil. Suicide. 8th April 2020. Sasha Santos Filho, 25, Aracaju, Sergipe, Brazil. Shot. 8th April 2020. Name unknown, 22, Medellin, Antioquia, Colombia. Cosmetic filler poisoning. 9th April 2020. Name unknown, Pirapora, Minas Gerais, Brazil. Strangled. 11th April 2020. Ana Karen Velasco Castellan, 25, Veracruz, Mexico. Beaten and shot. 11th April 2020. Joanna Metzger, Baltimore, Maryland, United States. Stabbed. 11th April 2020. Julia, 60, Puebla, Mexico. Not reported. 11th April 2020. Luana Alves, Piabeta Magé, Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Shot. 12th April 2020. Leica do Barral, 33, Patos, Paraíba, Brazil. Shot. 13th April 2020. Penelope Diaz Ramirez, 31, Bayamon, Puerto Rico. Strangled and hanged. Our next speaker will be Gwen Howerton, she, her, from Transcend.
My name is Gwen Howerton. My pronouns are she and her, and I'm from Transcend. And I'll be reading a few names. April 16th, 2020, Marbella Santos, age 28, from Amatitlan, Guatemala, was shot. April 16th, 2020, Paloma Salas Jimenez, age 33, from Balanquilla, Atlantico, Colombia, stabbed. April 17th, 2020, unknown name, from Uruapan, Mexico, shot. April 18th, Leticia, age 18, from Maria Bonita, Brazil, shot. April 19th, Paris Ninel, age 28, from Tuxtepec, Mexico, shot. April 22nd, 2020, Leila Sanchez, age 21, from Puerto Rico, murdered. April 22nd, 2020, Maria Eduardo Carla Fernandez Anselmo, age 33, from Brazil, shot. April 22nd, 2020, Serena Velasquez, age 32, from Puerto Rico, murdered. April 27th, 2020, Natasha Lobato, age 30, from Francisco Morato, Sao Paulo, Brazil, beaten and stabbed. April 29th, 2020, Teresa de Castillo, age 20, from Veracruz, Mexico, beaten and stabbed. May 2nd, 2020, Ruby Ferreira, age 35, from Brazil, shot. May 3rd, 2020, Fernanda de Souza Paiva, from Brazil, stabbed. May 3rd, 2020, Luis Clarita, age 23, from La Ceiba, Honduras, stoned. May 3rd, 2020, Nina Pop, age 28, from Sikeston, Missouri, stabbed. May 6th, 2020, Hell Yale Reagan, age 20, San Antonio, Texas, stabbed. May 7th, 2020, Fabia Oliveira de Silva, age 22, São Domingo, Brazil, shot. May 9th, 2020, Gabrielle Hills, from Brazil, stabbed. May 9th, 2020, Hirawas, from Pakistan, beaten. May 9th, 2020, Jane Thompson, age 33, from Orchard Mesa, Colorado, USA, shot. May 10th, 2020, Robertina dos Santos, age 42, from Itabuena, Brazil, shot. May 10th, 2020, unknown name, age 40, Bhopal, Madhya Pradesh, India, from COVID-19. May 10th, 2020, unknown name, age 56, from Juiz de Fora, Minas Gerais, Brazil, murdered. May 10th, 2020, unknown name, San Mateo, Capitan, Puebla, Mexico, beaten and run over. May 11th, 2020, unknown name, Mumbai, India, suicide. May 12th, 2020, Harina, Warangal, Telangana, India, stabbed. May 15th, 2020, Brenda Barreto Rodriguez Koge Etue, age 22, from Campo Grande, Brazil, suicide. May 16th, 2020, Barbara Clayton Silva de Namiscanto, age 33, from Brazil, stabbed. May 17th, 2020, Demetrio Campos, from Sao Paulo, Brazil, suicide. May 18th, 2020, Agatha Lima, from Sao Paulo, Brazil, cosmetic filler complications. May 20th, 2020, Pilar Abricin, age 30, from Chivilcoy, Buenos Aires, Argentina, suicide. May 20th, 2020, unknown name, Brazil, shot and run over. May 21st, 2020, unknown name, age 30, from Sao Paulo, Brazil, beaten and run over. May 24th, 2020, Carlota, from Nicaragua, run over. May 27th, 2020, Tony McDade, age 38, from Tallahassee, Florida, shot. May 27th, 2020, Yennefer Leon, age 33, from Moscow, Russia, COVID-19. May 28th, 2020, Cristina Souza, from Sao Paulo, Brazil, COVID-19. May 28th, 2020, Alejandra Ortego, age 39, Santa Fe, Bogota, Colombia, COVID-19 and clinical neglect. May 28th, 2020, Vic Santos, age 22, from Sao Paulo, Brazil, strangled and burnt. May 31st, 2020, Fernanda Antelo, Santa Cruz de la Sierra, Bolivia, from clinical neglect. May 31st, 2020, Selena Reyes Hernandez, age 38, from Marquette Park, Chicago, Illinois. Shot. June 6th, 2020, Gran Paola, age 48, from Brazil, beaten. June 6th, 2020, Jade, Porto Real de Colego, Brazil, shot. June 6th, 2020, Kayla Nunes, Barra de Santa Rosa, Brazil, shot. June 6th, 2020, Luana Kelly, age 22, Serra, Brazil, stabbed. June 6th, 2020, unknown name, age 16 or 20, Chicago, Illinois. The method of death was not reported. June 9th, 2020, Dominique Fells, age 27, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, stabbed and dismembered. June 9th, 2020, Rhea Milton, age 25, from Cincinnati, Ohio, shot. June 11th, 2020, Kathleen Santos, from Brazil, shot. June 12th, 2020, Paulina Reyes Souza, age 19, from Goiás, Brazil, shot. June 13th, 2020, Arianda Ojeda, from Magdalena, Colombia, stabbed. June 13th, 2020, Brian Powers, nicknamed Eagle, from Akron, Ohio, shot. June 13th, 2020, Essie Granlund, age 26, from Finland, stabbed. June 14th, 2020, Brandy Carolina Brown, age 30, from Atlantico, Colombia, stabbed. June 14th, 2020, Martina da Silva, age 28, from Brazil, beaten. June 16th, 2020, Tamara Katsmazov, age 23, from Leningrad Oblast, Russia, dismembered. June 18th, 2020, Isu Mamadli, age 23, from Azerbaijan, stabbed. June 18th, 2020, Dr. Maria Elizabeth Montano, 47, from Mexico, possible suicide. June 19th, 2020, Berku, age 22, from Konya, Turkey, suicide. June 21st, 2020, M.R. Sanabria, age 26, from Cortes, Honduras, beaten and suffocated. June 22nd, 2020, Babala Domingos da Silva, age 40, from Brazil, shot. June 23rd, 2020, Amanda Marfrey, age 35, from Sao Paulo, Brazil, COVID-19. June 23rd, 2020, F.J. Brito, age 45, from Teresina, Piau, Brazil. Possible suicide. June 24th, 2020. Unknown name, age 23. Goiás, Brazil. Stabbed. June 25th, 2020. Anel Valenzuela, age 45, from Fortin, Veracruz, Mexico. Shot. June 25, 2020. Brayla Stone, age 17, from Sherwood, Arkansas. Shot. June 25th, 2020. Fernanda Machado da Silva, age 27, from Rio Branco, Acre, Brazil. Beaten. Next, you'll hear from Sam Varga from Transcend. Thank you.
Howdy, my name's Sam Vargas. I use he, him pronouns. I'm from Transcend. 25th June 2020. Nickname Lady Gaga. 30 years old. Brazil, stabbed. 25th June 2020. Marceli Silva, 41, Brazil, strangled. 26th June 2020. Antonella Chelton, Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, suicide. 28 June 2020. Ellen Catalina, 21, Colombia, stabbed. 28 June 2020. Dr. Igor Lima Potencico, 24, Brazil, suicide. 29 June 2020. Thina Rodriguez, 57, Brazil, COVID-19. 30 June 2020. Betty Santos, 36, Brazil, shot. 30 June 2020. Drea McCarty, 28, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, USA, not reported. 30 June 2020. Fernanda Colanhia, Brazil, shot. 30 June 2020. Gabriela Reyes, Mexico, shot. 30 June 2020. Mercy Mack, Oak Cliff, Dallas, Texas, USA, shot. 30 June 2020. Tatiana Hall, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, USA, murdered. 30 June 2020. Veronica Ferreira de Lima, 50, Brazil, murdered. July 1st, 2020. Shaky Peters, 32, Louisiana, USA, shot. 2nd July 2020. Vida Borges de Melo, Brazil, shot. 3rd July 2020. Bree Black, Pompano Beach, Florida, USA, shot. 3rd July 2020. Yandera Connie Santos, Brazil, shot. 4 July 2020. Mateo Lopez, 25, Colombia, shot. 4 July 2020. Summer Taylor, 24, Seattle, Washington, USA, run over. 5 July 2020. Banish, Islamabad, Pakistan, shot. 5 July 2020. Hillary Mendoza Perez, 18, Colombia, cosmetic filler poisoning. 5 July 2020. Name unknown, United Kingdom, suicide. (6 July 2020. Angelina Martinez Gomez, 42, Santa Monica, California, USA, COVID-19. 6 July 2020, name unknown, Colombia, shot. 11 July 2020, Carol da Silva, 36, Brazil, shot. 11 July 2020, Lydia Padilla Daza, 41, Colombia, stabbed. 11 July 2020, Scarlett Caceres, Honduras, shot. 12 July 2020, Crystal Romero Matos, 52, Peru, strangled. 12 July 2020, Soria de Oliveira Santiago, Brazil, shot. 13 July 2020, Marilyn Monroe Cazares, 22, Brawley, California, USA, stabbed and burned. 13 July 2020, Silvina Roldan, 35, Argentina, suicide. 13 July 2020, Tiffany Alves Menderios, 51, Brazil, strangled. 14 July 2020, Victoria Maya, 29, Brazil, COVID-19. 17 July 2020, Leona, Brazil, died in custody. 20 July 2020, Manuela de Cassia, 48, Italy, stabbed. 21 July 2020, Stephanie Dior, 36, Italy, not reported. 22 July 2020, Gabriella, 29, Colombia, possible suicide. 22 July 2020, Rihanna Maybelli Spanik, 20, Brazil, beaten. 23 July 2020, Bom Bom, Rio Grande do Norte, Brazil, shot. 23 July 2020, Raven Marthiela, Brazil, shot. 25 July 2020, Monica Martinez, 44, Honduras, stabbed. 26 July 2020, Dorothy Balbino de Lima, 40, Brazil, shot. 26 July 2020, Tiffany Harris, Dior Hova, 32, The Bronx, New York, USA, stabbed. 27 July 2020, Denise Torres, 39, Mexico, stabbed. 27 July 2020, Keisha Harding, 24, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, USA, shot. 28 July 2020, Aja Raquel Roan Spears, Rocky Roan, 32, Portland, Oregon, USA, stabbed. 29 July 2020, Crystal Lopez, 30, Honduras, shot. 31 July 2020, Rain Rodriguez Dos Reis, 46, Brazil, not reported. August 1st, 2020, Jocelyn, 29, Guatemala, beaten. 3rd July 2020, Luisa Alvia Hinoa, 23, Colombia, murdered. 3 August 20, F.E. Batista, 26, Brazil, stabbed. 4 August 2020, Brenda Venegas Aguipa, 52, Peru, strangled. 4 August 2020, Samara, Brazil, shot. 4 August 2020, name unknown, Brazil, not reported. 5 August 2020, Fernanda Soares, Brazil, suicide. 5 August 2020, Paloma, Brazil, strangled. 8 August 2020, Ludmila Silva, 15, Brazil, shot. 9 August 2020, Alice Garefa, Brazil, murdered. 9 August 2020, Bridget, 38, Mexico, stabbed. 10 August 2020, Leticia Costa, 29, Brazil, shot. 11 August 2020, Rocosio Aline Seminego, 22, Argentina, clinical neglect. 11 August 2020, Vanessa Soloranzo, Rotolo, 20, Argentina, stabbed. 13 August 2020, Barbara Ellen, 53, Brazil, stabbed. 13 August 2020, Key Sam, 24, Lafayette, Louisiana, USA, shot. 17 August 2020, Francesca Galatro, 66, Italy, stabbed. 18 August 2020, Emily Taylor, 26, Brazil, stabbed. Next reading is by Dr. Chris May of Transcend.
I'm Chris May, pronouns he, him, his. I'm an advisor for Transcend. August 18th, 2020, Pia, Kamoke, Punjab, Pakistan, shot. August 19th, 2020, Danielle Rodriguez, 21, Cradius Seara, Brazil, shot. August 19th, 2020, Julie Torres, Guadalajara, Jalisco, Mexico, tortured. August 19th, 2020, Patricia Dumont, Santa Marta, Magdalena, Colombia, shot. August 20th, 2020, Claudina Leite, 26, Candide de Sal, Francisco Sergipe, Brazil, punched and fell. August 20th, 2020, Samantha Rosales Barrios, Sam, Atisco, Puebla, Mexico, run over. August 21st, 2020, Anushka Palayam Kotai, Tirunelveli, Tamil Nadu, India, strangled. August 21st, 2020, Bhavani, 34, Palayam Kotai, Tirunelveli, Tamil Nadu, India, strangled. August 21st, 2020, Bernadette, Iragape Grande, Maranhão, Brazil, stabbed. August 22nd, 2020, Lorena Maria del Lujan Raquel, Rosario Santa Fe, Argentina, beaten. August 22nd, 2020, Luara Redfield, Red, 23, Marinique Sao Paulo, Brazil, strangled. August 23rd, 2020, Isabela Soares, Porto Alegre, Rio Grande do Sul, Brazil, shot. August 24th, 2020, Gurya, Islamabad, Pakistan, not reported. August 24th, 2020, name unknown, 30, Acapulco, Guerrero, Mexico, shot. August 25th, 2020, Angure, Karachi, Sindh, Pakistan, murdered. August 26th, 2020, Brandy Ronzon Huerta Cortez, Puente Nacional, Veracruz, Mexico, stabbed. August 26th, 2020, Brittany Jacqueline, Casimiro Castillo, Jalisco, Mexico, beaten. August 26, 2020, Shelley Lynn Rose, 16, USA, suicide. August 26, 2020, name unknown, 30, Acapulco, Guerrero, Mexico, suffocated. August 26, 2020, name unknown, Sao Bernardo de Campo, Sao Paulo, Brazil, murdered. August 27th, 2020, Janine Huerta Lopez, Tijuana, Baja California, Mexico, beaten and stabbed. August 29th, 2020, Branca Aldama Perez, 37, Itatinga, Ceará, Brazil, shot. August 29th, 2020, Melody Barrera, 27, Guaymalan, Mendoza, Argentina, shot. August 31st, 2020, Ellie Che, 23, The Bronx, New York, USA, drowned. August 31st, 2020, Emily Kaur, 43, Brisbane, Queensland, Australia, suicide. August 31st, 2020, Melanie Aguilar, Santa Cruz del Sol, Rio Grande do Sul, Brazil, cosmetic filter complications. September 2nd, 2020, Giara Duarte, 27, Sao Paulo, Brazil, stabbed and thrown from a building. September 2nd, 2020, Mireya Rodriguez Lemus, Aguiles Cerdán, Chihuahua, Mexico, murdered. September 3rd, 2020, Catherine Rosemary Duval, San Salvador, Alopango, El Salvador, shot. September 4th, 2020, Gabriela Cruz Pimental, 46, San Miguel, Lima, Peru, asphyxiated. September 5th, 2020, Leslie Alejandra Ferretti, Leslie Rocha, Ciudad Juarez, Chihuahua, Mexico, stabbed. September 6th, 2020, Giovanna Perez, Oruro, Marajanco, Brazil, stabbed. September 7th, 2020, Isabel Mia Lofton, 21, Brooklyn, New York, USA, cause unknown. September 8th, B.E. Alvarez Hernandez, 25, Copacabana, Antioquia, Colombia, shot. September 8th, 2020, Gul Pandra, Peshawar, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, Pakistan, shot. September 8th, 2020, Melanie, 32, Oaxapan de Leon, Oaxaca, Mexico, possible suicide. September 10th, 2020, Saida, Swabi Haber Pakhtunkhwa, Pakistan, shot. September 12th, 2020, Sibel Rodriguez de Sousa, Nem, Sobrai Ceará, Brazil, shot. September 13th, 2020, Jardiel Santos, 24, Maceo Algoas, Brazil, stabbed. September 13th, 2020, Susana Criado Anton, 60, Oviedo, Principado de Asturias, Spain, beaten. September 14th, 2020, name unknown, Ciudad Juarez, Chihuahua, Mexico, shot. September 15th, 2020, Gia Valentina Ramalado Rodriguez, 46, Miami, Florida, USA, Cosmetic filler complications. September 17th, 2020. Name unknown. Marechal Deodoro Algoas, Brazil. Stabbed and shot. September 19th, 2020. Ariane Burnett, 37, Independence, Missouri, USA, shot. September 20th, 2020. Armando Ventura, 24, Santo Domingo, Distrito Nacional, Dominican Republic, run over. September 20th, 2020. Barbie Macon, 34, Salvatierra Parra, Brazil, strangled. September 20th, 2020. Gökay Ume, Istanbul, Turkey, suicide. September 23rd, 2020. Duna Jouet, 19, Montpellier, Herel, France, suicide. September 24th, 2020, Juliana Geraldo Diaz, 38, Miranda Coaca, Colombia, shot. September 25th, 2020, Sandra Beatriz Rangel, 38, Londrina Parana, Brazil, shot. September 26th, 2020, Francesca Cornejo, 63, Cordoba, Argentina, murdered. September 28th, 2020, Donna Nieta, 23, Caloocan, Metro Manila, Philippines, murdered. September 28th, 2020, Mia Green, 29, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, USA, shot. September 29th, 2020, Sucia La Basura, Constantino Barbosa, 28, Campo Grande, Mato Grosso do Sul, Brazil, suicide. September 30th, 2020, Michelle Alves de Silva, São José da Leje, Alagoas, Brazil, stabbed. Michelin Ramos Vargas, 35, San German, Puerto Rico, shot. September 30th, 2020, Ellis Murphy Richards, 15, Sheerness Kent, United Kingdom, possible suicide. And this concludes the names for this evening. Next up, we have the closing with Jesse, Myra, and Mark. Thank you for joining us.
This concludes our vigil for the dead. Following this conclusion, there will be an online gathering hosted by the LGBTQ Professional Network and Aggie Pride LGBTQ Network.
We remember the lives of the victims as well as of their deaths, mourning them as well as all those who came before. We also mourn all those whose names we do not know, those who couldn't be identified, those who were never found, and those buried in the wrong clothes and under the wrong names. Peace be upon them, may they rest in peace, and may their souls find salvation.
We don't hold events like this vigil out of fear of discrimination and violence, but out of sorrow. Like silver taps or muster, our remembrance of them is a demonstration of the strength of our community, and that even though so many of us have suffered, none of us are alone. This is an international recognition of trans experiences and a call to action for our allies and for our community to stand together against discriminatory violence.
Transgender Day of Remembrance was an event that blossomed out of trans liberation and the movement towards trans acceptance. It started in 1999 to honor the memory of Rita Hester and all the transgender people who had been killed since her death the year before.
Rita Hester was a powerful and influential Black woman, and out of respect for her and the Black community, it's crucial that we point out the disproportionate amount of victims who are women of color. Transphobia is rooted in both racism and sexism, and we must recognize that the basic rights and protection for our community can only be achieved through supporting other communities experiencing similar oppression. We are united in both love and in pride.
While we're grateful for the records that were provided for this event, we would like to mention that our list of victims ends on September 30th of this year, and that the violence continues to ravage our community in the months between the end of our list and this vigil. We want to recognize these most recent victims and remain aware that this violence is unfolding presently, in the same way that it has been for decades.
We must rely on each other for the resources and determination to fight against this violence. And so we would like to thank the LGBTQ Pride Center, the Pride Community Center, the LGBTQ Professional Network, the Aggie Pride LGBTQ Network, and Friends Congregational Church. This event was made possible by your dedication. We also want to thank Aggie Allies and all the allies who attended this event for your support and your outreach. Finally, we want to thank all of the members of our organization Transcend, who are absolutely wonderful individuals and future leaders of this movement.
A reminder again that the LGBTQ Professional Network and Aggie Pride LGBTQ Network will now be hosting an online gathering. Thank you.